Hey guys, how's it going today? Back at it on the 63 doghouse. I went ahead and fixed some of the spots that had holes in them. Went ahead and welded a nut to the back side of this so I could put the hood hinges on. Sorry, it's kind of earlier in the morning. Ate a big breakfast, kind of a little groggy now. So I did try to grind this out. I thought maybe I can grind the rust out and smooth it down, but kind of go from there. I thought about plating it, but what ultimately is going to happen now is I'm going to come in and cut this area out. Now the tricky part of that is it's 2 layers, but at the same time I can take care of the rust up here and kind of go from there. And I just noticed this is cracked right there. Can't really see it too well. Maybe I can check that. So I'm gonna have to tack that in, as well as right here. Probably ought to look at this on this other side. Okay, so yeah, it's a little jacked up here as well. So I have to lay a bead down there. Hopefully I can get it so I won't have any more trouble in the future. That could also kind of been from if it was hit or something, which now kind of worries me a little bit more. But we'll take care of it so we don't have issues here, hopefully down in the future. So I got the piece cut out here. You can see it was pretty rusty inside. I'm not sure what GM put between the 2 layers, but it didn't really help, whatever it was. If anything, it made it worse. I did find some more rust in here. So what I did was I chiseled it all out the best I could. Really, I should replace all this, but I'm worried that if I cut this out, I'm going to lose my, the structural rigidity of everything on this side. So I'm going to try to put some rust neutralizer in here, and with that rust neutralizer, hopefully it'll take care of all the rust I have in here, and then I will clamp this all back together and weld in a new section here. I did also go along, weld up the crack that we had there. Leave the welds on this side. Not too worried about it because I'm gonna go ahead and paint over all this and then undercoat it so no one will ever see it. Hopefully they'll keep, some strength to the weld instead of being ground out. All right, continue on. So I used some 415 rust neutralizer, squirted that in there, let it set, and then I've sprayed this all down with some weld through primer. I'm gonna have to squish this back together, but first I'm gonna weld in this outside one, and then I can kind of match that and then blend it. I see there's some spots I need to clean up. I need to prep this surface area so that way I can weld. So I had previously laid out, made a piece, and test fitted it to the area there. I figured by going off these measurements it'd be pretty close, and it was. My problem is though, there's a little bit more of a gap than I'd like, so I'm going to remake this piece, but make it an 1/8 inch longer. And then I will just, a lot of it's trimmed to fit. This is longer than it needs to be on both sides. This I will use for this inner piece here. I know it's kind of really long for that, but I think in the end it'll all work out pretty good. So let's get started. I don't have a lot of fancy tools, so I'm just going to kind of do it the way I can. I know I need about 2 inches here. Actually, I need a little bit less than that, but this will kind of work. I'm not sure how square this edge is. It's not a factory edge, it's one I cut. I don't have a nice shear, so that kind of gives me some problems, or a grate. I don't have a brake either, so I have to use the vise and a hammer. But for what I need, it should work pretty good. I know it needs to be 3 inches from that point, so we'll just kind of lay this out here. Put a rough tool over. I'll just have to trim this to fit. I'm not worried about making a mark all the way across because I don't knock out the way I wanted it to there. I don't need it to be that. This piece I made was just a little short of 5 inches. I think 5 inches will work. If not, it'll be close enough. So I'm going to make a mark off this edge. smarter to set this and then go from there. Then you know you're positive, because this is a factory cut edge here. You would assume it would be fairly close, but we'll find out. I'm not super worried about it anyways. Should make two marks. Kind of line the two up. Looks like we're a little off. This edge I cut on the throatless shear. Alright. So now we'll cut it. Okay, hopefully this doesn't get caught on here. And it looks like it will. Let me readjust. So I'm not going to do a super crazy big detailed video about how to do a lot of fun sheet metal stuff. There's a lot of videos that people that have better explanations of how to do it than I can. I don't have all the equipment. So it's not going to be a very straight line. Some 16 gauge. I believe that's what the doghouse is made of, so that's what I'll be using. Alright, now we got our piece cut. Now it's time to bend. As stated before, I don't have a brake, so I have to use the old vise. I got this set up as close as parallel to that line as I can. And hopefully this doesn't knock my camera off. We'll see how it goes. Make sure it's tight. Thought about lost the camera there. And then I'd like to stick this side in there, kind of, because I didn't, you know, when you beat it, it kind of has a little bit of wave to it, and this will kind of square it up here. All right, and we got our piece. Not perfectly straight, but that's what we got to work with right now. Okay, so I finally, after, I don't know how long it's been on the phone, about 40 minutes worth of trimming and kind of fitment, I finally got the piece in. Although the gaps over here are a little wide, this back side, got to see in there. I'm not a big fan of it, but I'm gonna roll with it. I got it all tacked in. Been trying to weld this piece, especially on this upper side from the rear, because I got that plate to come over here. I'll have to trim it to fit this side. But this one shouldn't be, this piece shouldn't be too terribly bad. Get a nice straight edge here. Make sure it somewhat fits the bend. Get that so it fits pretty good. Weld it in, and we'd be done. I'm gonna go ahead and get this cut so it marks a good line there, or it is a good line, so that way for the next piece that comes over this, it won't be so bad. That piece there, it'll be easy just to lay it in and go. So I went ahead and decided to weld in, make sure it looked okay, this piece, before I put that other piece on, because I had those two spot welds here, and I thought, well, I'm trying to fit that other piece around here, and it's rubbing on it. Might as well just go ahead and take care of it now while I'm here. Kind of went in and burnt in. I need to go back and fill in some spots, but that doesn't look too bad. It's solid. I think it'll work pretty good. So I believe this outer piece would be spot welded, so I need to lay a coat of weld through primer down and then drill a couple holes and spot weld that bad boy in here. And I'll come in and weld in these those two sides. I guess you can count this as a third, but Alright, I'll continue on and see how it looks here in a bit. So I got it sprayed down with some weld through primer. Got some holes drilled in the piece here so I can spot weld it in. Fits okay. It's going to take a little bit of work. I can work with it though. So start in on it. So I got the piece welded in here. It doesn't look too terribly bad. Could use a little bit more finish work, but all in all, I think it'll work out okay. One thing I did make a mistake of, I should have drilled a couple holes up here and spot welded them. I didn't think about this flapping, so I just put a couple tacks in here. They don't look very good, but it should be able to hold it down, and once the fender's clamped down to it, kind of helps suck everything together. Get my hand out of the way there. So I think I got one more project left to do besides the core support. See how it goes. The last little project I was going to work on was going to be putting a nut in here. This is where the bumper attaches. I have a weld nut, and I'm not sure where that came from. I don't think it's from in here, because when I put the nut in there and I was pulling out with the bolts, it just would not sit square. There's nothing over here. But there's something over here, which is what I tried to weld it to, and I just got to the point where I thought I can't really catch anything to weld that nut to, and if that breaks off, that's going to be a heck of a time to get to this, because it's the only way to access it is through here or from, well, the front here or the rear, so there's really no way of getting it because that's like 3 feet long down there. And I have nothing that long to reach to grab a nut if that was to spin off. So unfortunately, I'm just going to have to live with the hole here, run a bolt and a nut through that, and go from there. So kind of the last thing I needed to do to this front doghouse is repair the core support here. As you can see, it's rusted out. I got a little bit of rust over there, but I might be able to deal with that personally. I'm not quite sure yet how I want to go about that. And then just get the bolts broke loose. I have a hood bumper stuck in there, or the stud from it, so I have to work on getting that out. But I have this other core support that is all twisted up. As you can see, the hood pins aren't super straight. It's kind of tore up. So I'll rob the sheet metal off this for this, and hopefully it'll come together and not look too terribly bad. So I got the old piece cut out. I kind of cut a little bit into the front, and I wasn't wanting to do that, but I can weld it up. Got my, I laid the old piece on here, marked it out with Sharpie. Now it's time to get to cutting. So I've gone through and been able to manage to get this piece kind of worked in so where the lines kind of line up halfway decent. However, I'm still got some issues with it overlapping in some spots, so I'm going to go ahead and grind it down. And I think I'll leave this little lip down here. It'll look kind of funny, but it'll kind of help support the backside. I got a big gap there, so that's going to be an interesting weld to fix up, or a hole to fix up, so kind of go from there. Alright, I'm going to finish the video here, just because of the fact that I felt the temperature drop, so I know it's going to start raining again. It's been raining quite a bit, as you can see. My shoes are all wet. Got it pretty well welded in. There's still some work I need to do. I'm going to have to go cut this corner off to kind of match up to this one off the other core support I have. So if you guys like the video, give it a like. If you got any criticism, comments, put it in the comment box. Subscribe if you want to see more videos. That'll be about it for now. Alright, see you guys. Bye.